Look like somebody.
I want war with all of you.
Peace. Yo. Welcome back to the village. Yo, peace, power, prosperity to the village gang. Y'all already know what we do, how we does it. We pull up in the town square. Peace. Everybody have a good, beautiful, productive day. Y'all know it's a love thing from here to there. All is clean and all is fair. But they think we're crazy. They think I'm crazy. Tried to destroy my life. Getting set up right here, right now. Shout out to the villagers. I see y'all pouring in. I see y'all. Peace. Hope all is well. M Love, Tree Star. The ones in the shadows, the supporters. Hit them buttons. We're getting rolling in a little bit. Shout out to the shadows.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
Getting it set up right now. But to make sure y'all know,
I want war with all of you.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
that's what they said, right? They said we was crazy. They said we was off our rocker. They say we didn't know what we was talking about. They put all these labels on all these people. Come to find out, a lot of this shit true. Get this show started. Yo, relax. There we go. Jeffrey Woodland, what up, my boy? Peace. About to start the show. Quick little spinning. You know we already in there. Yes. Rojo is in the back. I put him far away from this one because this is too early to hear all that damn noise. But he and I, it's him, Slim Trim, and I'm built to win. I am Granny's baby. I'm numero uno flaco fuerte, your humble host that will never do the least, but I'll promise to never, ever overdo it and do the absolute most. Quick spinning, and we in the ear. So at this point, in this day and age, in 2026, every breathing sentient thing has heard about MK Ultra. We ain't gonna act like we don't know and we ain't heard about it. Because we all have. We heard about Jesus Christ. Heard about the LSD. We read about hypnosis, parts of it, sleep deprivation, trauma-induced, what you call dissociation. And this was all in the name of creating, let's say, super agents, right? They want to create this crazy tough fighting force and these people who could do these miraculous things. Old school shit from the 1950s. Swear to God, they shut it down in the 1970s. But we know that to not be true, right? Like, we're not jacking that. We're not going for it. This banana tailpipe insert bullshit is done, right? It's over. People just not buying it no more. But take a quick little glance real quick. And then we had it. If you don't know who this is Kathy O'Brien. She's one of the leading people that talks about these projects. She's actually one of the leading people that talk about Monarch, Montauk, MK Ultra, stuff like that along that line.
Being trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, and then my father used me in child pornography. It was.
So, yeah. It's going to be some sensitive stuff being spoken about, right? Viewer discretion advised, right? There's going to be some words used, but the words are just being used to describe actual events that happen, right? This is not it's not being said to be salacious, right? It's not being said to be hyperbolic or extra candid, right? This is what her experience is. This is what her experience was, and she's just relaying it, which should be fair and freedom of speech. You dig it? Rolling.
Clear that I had been sexually abused. And it had been found in the Hitler-Himmler research that came over with Project Paperclip in the wake of World War II. The information is trauma is the basis of mind control. And the formula for mind control is the same, whether it's of an individual, a nation, or the world, with trauma the basis of it. And there's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while their brain is still forming. This creates a dissociative.
So that's the key in how you split something, right? Because the individual still has to go on a life and cope, right? So the brain does the splitting thing where it fractions off. And the easiest way to do it is through trauma.
Disorder, that repressed memory that gets shoved down, that compartmentalized memory. I have the neuron pathways in our brain shutting down, our suggestibility heightens. We don't have as much free thought, critical analysis. And as we lose more and more of that free thought, critical analysis, we become highly suggestible and easily led. So the fact that I had been so blatantly sexually abused, once that was identified by the members of my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, where the politicians and the law enforcement and everything were those. Any secret society, we need to question. Secrecy is our problem, and those secrets are that if a child is abused, they become highly suggestible and easily led, and that is part of a global agenda to create a compliant society that will do as they're told and just march to a slave society agenda. And it's been going on for generations now. And it's
now with the Epstein files being released, right? And all the redaction just breeds what? More questions. Who's in the files? Why is this being redacted? Especially when you see redactions that kind of have nothing to do with what the redaction is supposed to pretty much do. The redaction is supposed to pretty much protect the victims. Redaction ain't there to protect the perps. The redactions aren't there to protect the people being accused of this sick behavior. When you see these weird redactions going, it's like, so why? So then it looks like people are still being protected under this this evil empire system that we have, that seems to have a globalistic control thing going on, right? But they can have the world. We have the other kingdom. You dig it?
Something that we need to be aware of. And after so many generations, after 3 generations, any abuse base, knowledge base, belief system becomes autogenic in the brain. It's passed down generationally. Well, with this pedophile agenda being a
Remember when you talked about the killer whale Telecom and how he stained his DNA? And all his kids became pretty much crazy whales. Magneto, what up? That's what he's referring to. I think it's being transferred to. Remember, there's also the spirit also. While you bind DNA in the form of conception of a child, right? You also bind 2 spiritual energies at the same time. Let's not get lost on these concepts like things are just one dimensional and they just stuck in this dense dimension. It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
allowed to proliferate, being sanctioned by the courts since the early 1960s that I know of. We have a generational effect where we have been subliminally affected to allow for pedophilia to happen. That has been promoted within the school system. The school system, once it was taken over by the federal government, learned to identify the children who are abused and target them for mind control projects. So it's been going on a long time, and the generational effect.
You can't turn on the TV today. You can't turn on the YouTube today. You can't go on the Twitter today and not see some story of a PDF file taking advantage of a child that's sent to school for 6 to 8 hours a day in a system that's supposed to care for them and make sure they're safe, right? Look how much you trust other people with your prized possession. Then to find out that this is what's going on behind the scenes, schools shouldn't even exist at this point, to be honest. This is one of those. I don't think that this is one of those situations where 1 or 2 is okay because 100 is safe. I'm not jacking it. This ain't one of them scenarios.
Is in place, which is why more people are compliant and not responding to the abuse of a child the way that they should. But it's because of the generational conditioning. We need to know that without free thought, there's no free will. And with no free will, there's no soul expression, no ability to have that moral compass to gather up our strength of spirit and take a stand for the children. We get blinded by the mind manipulation that we've all been exposed to for a long time. So
remember, for a certain block of time, I can't remember what channels it was, but it had to be like one of them, those real female like channels. You know what I mean when I say that? Like OWN and QVC and HGTV and all these other things that pretty much women just watch. Men really don't watch these channels. There was a significant amount of time I remember having these little girls dress up like adults and behave like adults. Like these are the pageants, and they wearing like these little stockings and they wearing makeup and they doll them up to look like adults. That shit has never sat right with me. Right? That has never sat right with me. It never will sit right with me. That's how you desensitize a population, though. That's how you desensitize the population to make things that we know to not be cool and things to not be acceptable. And that's how you start killing off modesty, right? That's how you start killing the spirit of femininity. That's how you do it right there. You portray them like meat markets. And I'm probably one of the worst people to talk about it because I've been called a womanizer before. But I'm talking about grown ass women that make grown ass decisions. These kids are being pushed and funneled into these channels. And if I remember correctly, it was this one scenario where like this mom was so fixated on it, it wasn't really about the child. It was more about her. I guess she was living vicariously through the child. So she was like this hyper, just like basically a junkie about the whole scenario. But look how we went through that phase right now. And when you bring up Slicegate that happened in DC, that shit blew over like it was new. With all the videos that came out about it, with all the data, with all the people's name, with all that shit that looked at wonky, they ran an op on it, sent somebody in there. So now Slicegate turns out to be this mega conspiracy theory. But now you have the Epstein files. But they called us crazy. They said we was crazy. Paperclip never happened. Montauk never happened. M. Carroll never. We crazy. Y'all not lying. We crazy. Take back the education and the safety of our children. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Conscious parenting. Yo, I was trying to remember that phrase, conscious parenting. I was calling it proactive parenting. I'm not trying to figure out what phrase you was using, but it's conscious parenting. Thank you. I'm glad you wrote that.
We all, on some level or another, need to reclaim and retain our free thought so that we can live the life we're intended to with that moral compass and realize soul is stronger than genetics. Knowledge is our defense against mind manipulation and mind control. And once we have that, we're able to take a stand against what's going on. But people have been blindsided for a long time. Their eyes are opening now. They're realizing it, and they're starting to understand that they can overcome even the genetic aspects and start realizing just how bad the effect of abuse is on a young child while their brain is forming.
This thing stretches extremely far when you hear Candace talk about Charlie being gifted, Charlie going to these schools, her being gifted, her being accepted to these schools. When you start hearing the fallout of these things, if I could control. You ever seen the Manchurian Candidate? All those things start to become more real. Charlie, in my lifetime that I've seen, had the highest potential to be the next Manchurian Candidate. And if you haven't seen that movie, go watch that movie. There's two of them. There's a real old one. Who's in the? Damn, I can't remember who's in the. It's not Carrie. No, the new one has Denzel, Ray Donovan, and I want to say Meryl Streep. It came out in the early 2000s, I want to say. Go check that movie out and go revisit. And we already know you got to go revisit Charlie Kirk. But if you look at Charlie Kirk's paradigmizations, right, you could see how he could have been the next Manchurian. Designed, right? Checking off blocks along the way. Then when you hear about PragerU and the philosophies and the ideologies that came out of Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager? Yeah, Dennis Prager. I believe his first name is Dennis Prager. And how he influenced Charlie in such a way. One of his talking points was if he could control Charlie, then he could control millions. That sounds like a position play if you ask me. But to drive this point home, I like Kat to finish up a little bit, but I got another video we got to tap into. And these are stuff that we have seen before.
Yes, that part is very misunderstood in all academia, just how trauma actually affects our body. And, we're taught things like disease can be generational. We're taught and believe that all these other things can be generational that can be passed down to us, but nowhere in there does it talk about trauma, which is really, really sad, because I think if more people did understand that,
Yes.
you talk about how even if you didn't go through what you did as far as being put in a government sanctioned program and being systematically abused, if somebody is a child of a parent who is a child of another parent who watched TV for, the last 20 years, 30 years, there's definitely trauma that's passed down that way too, which you talk about on the slide of mind control.
Definitely. And then there's the physical abuse. And if those things aren't consciously identified and they're only just kept repressed, they like undermine our daily life, where they just, we're not really even aware, but people will go into abusive relationships because it's what they're used to. It's what they know. And until they consciously realize it, they're subject to continuing and allowing for abuse to perpetuate. So we can all break the cycle by having the awareness that it's within us to do so. But we need to remember that. And again, that's what PTSD Time to Heal is about. It reminds us, oh, we do have all the power. We do have the choice. We do have the ability to stop this cycle.
Yes.
People don't know how powerful they really are. In the same sense that people don't know how similar that we really all are. It's another way of division, keeping people separate. The more togetherness is the more unification and the more sensibility. And when you have what you call support groups, right? They tend to build each other up. Like they have these workshops for women. They have workshops for men, right? Specifically. So so you're not just with your race, or you with your countrymen, or your ethnic backgrounds. No, it's based on, a lot of these groups are based on gender, because we tend to relate better, because we tend to feel like, well, he's a man also, so he kind of knows what I went through. He has an idea of what I went through. He kind of could feel, right? The struggles of a man in this world. It's the struggles of being a 17-year-old boy, an 18-year-old man, coming into your own, stuff like that. So support groups are very important. That's what she's talking about when she say we realize that we have the strength. Those journeys you can't take by yourself. You need support groups. You need people to talk to. You need to flush this out. And if you're going to be a chain, every link in that chain has to be sound, right? Every link in that chain has to be strong to carry that weight.
Yes, Kathy. Like I said, you always have just the best insights and outlooks on everything. And I think you give so many people hope. And so there's the generational aspect, I'm guessing, is the biggest way that they target. They can obviously do this in schools. So once they get these children or recruit them, what are ways that they are looking to use these children?
Well, we look at what's happening in the school system now with when this mind control masked as a virus, this global trauma was unleashed on the global population, 2020. The effect that it had on children was very detrimental, compounded by limiting oxygen to the brain necessary for critical analysis-free thought by wearing a mask, and then sitting behind plexiglass and separated from each other. We caused fearful damage in the children, and that fear is a basis of mind control. It was deliberately used as a trauma base for manipulating the minds of the children.
You know what it is, Love? It is like a strainer, right? So what they do is they could strain out exactly who's what, who's good for honeypots, who's good for ops, who's good for politics, right? They could sift out through the talent pool. Just like when people take these standardized testings, right? They could see who's above, who's above average, who's the average, who's below average. They get a real good baseline of who is who. And they can't, it's not like they don't know who you are. You in the school, you put your name on the test, you probably put your social security on the test, right? So they know exactly who you are and how to get to you. We have to be, as parents, we just need to know. And like Magneto said, conscious parenting is key, though.
Through a deliberate education indoctrination system that has been imposed on our children, especially through computerization, the rewriting of history, and by having the children focus on emotional, social issues instead of learning how to research and, thinking free, picking up that pen, activating the logic critical analysis part of their brain, to write out information and then consciously see it in front of them. All that's been taken out. We need to get writing by hand back in the school system. We need to understand that all our children were traumatized and it's being capitalized in the school system. So we need to definitely protect our children there. We're seeing the effects of it. With it comes an identity dissociation where identity confusion that children, have anyway, especially through their teen years, is exaggerated horribly. And now it's been mislabeled as gender confusion. And any child who's been sexually abused, that gender confusion concept just rockets into their brain and creates a very powerful form of mind control, much the same way as it was when I was targeted for that as a child. But even
plain as day. These things aren't separate things. The Epstein files are real. Slice Gate is real. What Kathy's talking about is real. We don't have the buffer room no more. When I showed you that video the other night of that lady spazzing out in the street, that's real stuff they talking about. Shout out to Candace for saying this too the other night when she said, when she's talking to Basim Yosef. Shout out to Basim Yosef also too. He's that boy's smart. That ain't no dummy over there. That ain't no dummy at all. But at one point she discussed the left and the right, meaning the libs and the cons, right? And what it comes down to is what we're staring at is that phrase that became, I don't know where it became popular at, but it's just popular flying through the lexicon. Left wing, right wing, same bird. Cool. It seems that that's exactly what we're staring at right now. There is no more left and there is no more right. It's just governmental control, right? There is no more people where we believe that this party stood for this and this party stood for this and independence for this and T was this. It's out the door. I'm trying to get with MGT right now to see if she's available. I would love to speak to MTG. She dropped some gems last week, I want to say maybe. But there's no more separation of it. Like, we the only ones playing that fucking dumb game. And that's just my opinion. That's just what it looks like to me. However it comes across to you, however it comes across to you, right? This is just me saying allegedly, right? That's what it comes across like. That's what it looks like. And I don't think we have the buffer room to play around anymore. But back to what Candace was saying. She was saying it doesn't matter. And I don't care. Because if us as a people and as a society can't protect the kids, then we're all just evil, right? Like she's talking about, and she brought it into the good and the evil argument. And good needs to fight against evil. That's just it. There's no more left and right. There's no more these weird chop ups of things. Simply put, protect these kids. And if you're on that side of protecting these kids, I'm pretty sure you have faith with the Almighty Creator, right? If that's your goal and that's your objective and you care about the kids and you're willing to fight and stand up and and protest and say it here and do what needs to be done to protect these kids, and that then you're on the side of good. I'm not casting judgment, right? Judgment is for when you go see your maker. But look at this crazy video right here. You know, I'll let Kathy finish up real quick, let her close out her statement, and then we watch the other video. Guys, what's up?
Even those who haven't been sexually abused are still confused, especially with repetition. Once the trauma's in place, they're highly suggestible. Repetition is the most basic form of mind control. So these traumatized children are then repeatedly told about this gender confusion, this transgender movement, and being further indoctrinated through the pharmaceutical.
Why do you think Umar say things in trees? Think about it. Umar says things in trees constantly. He's notoriously known for that shit now. Repetition. People study in repetition to learn things for class and for school. They say it, some of them write it down. Nowadays, well, back in the day, had voice recorders. They voice record it, they play it back, they write it down, they say it. People do things in repetition so it sticks in the brain. So the thoughts start to associate. So it's a linear thing now. You ever seen kids do practice for spelling bees? They don't spell the word one time and get the definition one time and keep on pushing. No, it's constant repetition or something. Training the brain, training the brain, training the brain.
Aspect of it, and once children are in that pharmaceutical hormonal mess, they are going to be fueling big pharma pocketbook for life, because they're going to have to continue on that intrusive, horrific regimen. So that's how our children are being targeted today. We need to realize that more and more parents they're seeing it, they understand what's going on, they're opposing the sexualization of our children, and this transgender movement is starting to fade pretty quick, just because of the outrage of knowing what was actually being done. So that's how children are being targeted. Anytime trauma occurs, we all need to safeguard our own free thought in times like that, and we need to especially safeguard our children's free thought at a time like that. Get them to pick up that pen, activate the logic, shift the emotional trauma to logic, write it out, deal with it. When we write out our fears and our traumas, we should always add a solution, and I spell that SOUL, a solution. Write that out too, because it forces the brain to fire in new ways. It opens neuron pathways. It lifts us out of the negativity so we get a clear path forward. This is really important, because any indoctrination, any mind manipulation is done by shutting down neuron pathways in the brain. We need to open them up. We need to fling that back open the way they're intended. And a pen and paper is a good way to do it. Getting out in nature, petting our dogs, walking them. Those are all really important little things we can do to activate our brains and keep those neuron pathways open instead of shutting down.
Yo, for somebody who's been through that much trauma since such a young age, it's crazy to see her smile, and you could kind of jack the feeling. I don't get no TPSA, right? Owner vibes from this lady. Yeah, you just got your one shot for the day. More coming, by the way, because this is a prelude video. I'm doing this video as a prelude to another video I'm gonna do, which is gonna be the real Madonna one, the one that I showed you, the Madonna Erica Kirk thing, which is all alleged, by the way. But let's go check this other video out. Bum, 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 bum. I'm pretty sure some of us may have seen it. But check this crazy shit out.
Contest. Yours was in Vegas. Yes. We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be. I said I love to do karaoke. That's good, isn't it? You see those two mics back there? You made up your own words. You see those? Wait, that was the words. Hey. In old New York? To be honest, I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of, I was a little down. I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond.
Look at that full face.
Everybody on this team, they come over there. Time now for the ridiculous. You've heard of Where in the World is Matt Lauer? Well, tonight we're asking, what in the world is up with Al Roker? And I asked this question with the utmost admiration and affection for Al Roker. I really like the guy. Now, a few days ago, on the Today Show, Savannah Guthrie and Matt Lauer were talking about an upcoming performance from Lionel Richie. Savannah Guthrie was saying that Lionel Richie takes her back to the days of junior high school dances, and then this happened.
That's exactly how you have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like I say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. As Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle room. Natalie Morales.
Now, I think they were talking about Elvis, something in the jungle room. I couldn't pay attention because Al Roker just kind of froze like that. He stood completely still with that look on his face for 17 seconds. 17 seconds. That's like a day and a half in live TV time. And I need to know what that was about.
Costume contest, we do it every year. So it was a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress. You guys have got to try the cold chocolate.
Look at this lady face right here. What the hell? I need to get that drop, maybe.
You guys have got to try the cold chocolate. Try the cold chocolate.
Terrified. She was like, what the hell? She's still scared. Look at her. She's still arched back.
You guys have got to try the cold chocolate. You guys have got to try the cold chocolate. In every way. I was very
I think I just found me another drop.
You guys have got to try the cold chocolate.
in covertly recorded off-air transmissions from the Bush-Clinton.
That's what Kathy was referring to, right? They gotta constantly stay inside that cycle. Like you just mentioned big pharma. You got to take the meds constantly. You got to keep going. The same thing with a computer, right? Every now and again, your computer got to do what? Reboot, add some protections on there, update the system right here, reprogram it right here. Think about the brain as a computer. And when these people already been through the program, and the program's starting to fail,
presidential election campaign in the
what they need?
1990s, we can see that Bill Clinton was nothing more than a puppet to the puppet masters, which placed him in the White House. Bill Clinton's demeanor seems to be similar to a person who is under a hypnotic trance.
Bad news for the Obama administration. We have this new CNN ORC poll, which is quite a turnaround in well, a very
Yo, y'all know this video. This isn't even a video that's oh God. We know this video too well. But let's go.
very heavy deprivation tonight. We had a very Darrison fight. Let's go ahead, Terrace chasing those for the head of the pit. We had a very Darrison.
What did he say?
Bruh. Let's go ahead, Terrace chasing those for the head of the pit. I'm sorry. I was in a trance. Yeah, watch the troll there.
You feel me? So yeah, that's it. Not for the show, for that video. So we just talked about MK Ultra. And we tend to think like that was it. When, oh, we don't do MK Ultra anymore. All right, sure. So what's the name of the new program? It's not MK Ultra no more. What's the name of the new program? So you got Montauk. Right? Montauk allegedly was the follow-up to MK Ultra. Pretty much the same shit. All right. What makes this one so good is because people are watching the show right now. People are going crazy over a series right now. What's up, Red? People are watching the show right now going crazy over it. I think they're in the final season, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Child experiments, telekinesis, remote viewing, opening portals. Emotional deprivation training, time, space. It's wild when you start looking at Project Montauk in itself, right? It's pretty much MK Ultra 2.0, allegedly. And if you want to dig into a little bit more, there's a guy named Preston Nichols, right? We're not crazy. Don't believe that shit. You ain't crazy. Like the homie said, you're not crazy. You're not crazy though. You're not crazy. And then with a system and how the evil empire work, where they treat you like pretty much you're a moron, you can't think for yourself. That's why a lot of people are not jacking it. They didn't think that the people that ain't a part of the evil empire would use the interwebs for good, right?
Get bright idea, jump overboard and swim ashore. Phoenix Project.
By this point, you'd be hard-pressed to meet someone who hasn't seen Stranger Things. As a matter of fact, the latest season, season 4, broke Netflix's previous record of most time streamed by an English-language show in its first week with a staggering figure, 335 million hours streamed by viewers from May 30th to June 5th. To say then that the show is simply popular is an incredible understatement. With its mix of dazzling special effects, good cast chemistry and performances, and a storyline chock full of homages to 80s horror and sci-fi classics, it's easy to understand how it earned the spot as one of Netflix's top shows. It's a retro nostalgia security blanket for anyone born in the 80s and 90s, and a reinvention of the hits for the youth. But what if I told you that Hawkins, the fictional town where Stranger Things is set, might not be fiction at all? What if everything was true? Join me on today's episode as we infiltrate the military base.
Montauk, named after the location, right? Montauk, it's a base. New York. No, never heard about it.
In Montauk, New York, as we discuss the Montauk Project. But, and this is a big, juicy but, before we do, I need to ask you to perform emergency surgery on the subscribe button by aggressively clicking it back to life with CPR, followed by gentle compressions of the like button. Now, back to the Montauk Project. In the evening hours of August 12, 1983, Edward Cameron, later known as Al Bielek, and his brother Duncan ripped through a hole in the very fabric of space and time from the year 1943 while participating as part of an experiment aboard the USS Eldridge during World War II in what is now known as the now infamous Philadelphia experiment. If that all sounds familiar to you, it should.
I'll let y'all listen to it. Philadelphia, it's wild when you hear about the Philadelphia. It's pretty much time travel. Oh, portal. I don't know what you would call it because I don't think they necessarily moved through time, but they moved through matter. They moved through the density of the dimension. It was something crazy. But
as I have covered Al's amazing story in a prior episode, I highly encourage you to click the link in this video to hear more about his accounts. That describes, in detail, a failed U.S. Navy experiment to render an entire warship, in this case, the USS Eldridge, invisible by encasing it in what is now known as an electromagnetic bubble. But instead, it teleported the ship and crew with catastrophic consequences. During the test, the brothers were in the control room as it became incredibly unstable and quickly grew wildly out of control, forcing them to seek an escape. They yelled for help over the radio, but when communications went out, they flung the door to the control room open and ran for their lives. Panicked, they fled what could have become their tomb below deck and went topside to the main deck of the Eldridge, reeling in utter horror at the sight of the ship. The crew were mostly dead or dying, some fused to the ship itself. Those that hadn't died or been gravely injured had seemingly gone mad from the effects of whatever had just occurred to them. The brothers had been protected from much of the harmful effects of the experiment while below deck, in the experiment's control room, and after surveying the carnage on the main deck, decided to jump over the ship's railing into the strange aura that surrounded the ship, into the cosmic unknown. As reported in my previous video, the brothers Cameron were eventually sent back to the decks of the Eldridge to stop the experiment in 1943, from which they had escaped by any means necessary, on orders from their boss from that time, 1943, Dr. John von Neumann, now a much older man, in 1983, where they had ended up after entering that mysterious time fog that surrounded the Eldridge, and who was now a lead at the Montauk military base, tasked with carrying out various...
I know it has something to do with them moving through space or time or some shit. It was something crazy that happened to it. Even though they did the blanket thing, the invisible thing, something else happened where it moved. Like, did it jump like a certain distance or some crazy shit?
Experiments. While they did stop the Philadelphia experiment by destroying the ship's equipment after being sent back from the future, Duncan decided to leap back into the time fog in 1943 that surrounded the vessel, leaving a stunned Al still aboard the ship as it phased back into the 1940s. What then happened to Duncan? Where did he go? This is his story as much as any of the others. The story of Duncan Cameron and the Montauk Project, and how he may be the inspiration for one of the most popular characters on television today. Crashing back into 1983 after entering the time fog, Duncan was in really bad shape. The effects of time travel had done a number on his body, and he began to age rapidly, a man untethered from time, ultimately close to death. He had quite possibly saved the Earth, but at a heavy cost. Dr. von Neumann and the others at Montauk, knowing he was extremely valuable, didn't want to let him simply die. That could have disastrous consequences for not only Duncan, as he barely clung to life, but for the timeline itself, and could potentially create bizarre time paradoxes, smashing the fabric of reality into a million fragmented pieces. Von Neumann hatched a plan, and using the same time displacement equipment used to send the brothers back to 1943, got a message to the year 1947 and convinced Cameron's father to allow them to transfer Duncan's consciousness to another son, who was, as of yet to be born. But to transfer an entire consciousness to another person, they would have to follow the Earth's complex biorhythms, and would not be able to do so for almost another 2 decades. Thus, in 1963, Duncan was reborn after Montauk was able to transfer his consciousness from the year 1983 using their technology on the base. Are you following all of this so far? To tell the next part of our story, which ties a little more neatly into Stranger Things, we need to introduce Preston Nichols. Preston Nichols was an electrical engineer with a specialization in electromagnetic phenomena, working for a defense contractor named BJM, who became keenly interested in psychic research when, in the early 1970s, he discovered that telepathic communication acted in a very similar fashion to radio waves. Nichols already knew how radio waves worked, but telepathic communication? Had this ever been looked into before? I mean, really looked into? I mean, if Preston was an arrow, he now found his target. Let's fast forward a little bit to the 1980s. Preston, at this point, had begun working with self-described psychics in an attempt to figure out how it all worked, when he noticed something peculiar. They all seemed to have some sort of stoppage of cohesive thought at or about the same time each day. When he was able to trace the source of whatever was seemingly halting their ability to think, it led him to the Montauk Air Force Base, which sat silently nearby, with its large, semi-automatic ground environment system, or SAGE radar tower, looming ominously over the town of Montauk. Something was going on at the base, which was supposedly closed, but in his obsession, he had to know the truth. Eventually, he was able to gain access to the base. Nichols and a friend named Brian, who himself exploring the derelict base when they discovered a homeless man who appeared to be living on the property and claimed to be a former employee of the base. He confirmed that staff had been conducting illegal tests and experiments there, described some of the equipment they had been using, and said a terrible creature had been let loose by some force a year or so before, causing the military to close the base. Perhaps the strangest of all, though, was the man's statement that Nichols had been his boss on the project. Brian, using his psychic abilities, was able to confirm that the man was telling the truth. But why couldn't Nichols remember this at all? A short time later, after they had finished snooping around the base, a man appeared at Preston's lab to see if he could help him repair a piece of audio equipment. The man, you might ask? None other than Duncan Cameron. After some talk, Duncan seemed interested in learning more about Nichols' side project, psychic research. Preston, sensing that Duncan had some sort of psychic ability, decided to show him the Montauk base to see if it sparked something in the young psychic. Upon arrival, Duncan seemed to immediately recognize the place, although he had claimed to have never been there before. He was even able to show Nichols things like where the bulletin board was in the mess hall, and key details like certain areas of the facility and what they had been used for. When they went into the transmitter building of the radar tower, though, Duncan seemed to go into a trance. He began spouting out information at a rapid rate. Preston rushed over and had to physically shake him out of it. And once he did, Duncan, who had by then shed layers of mental programming, revealed to him that he had actually been sent to kill Nichols and blow up his lab. It would seem Nichols had irritated whoever was funding this black op, and they wanted him out of the picture for good. However, with Duncan now out of his brainwashed daze and having most of his memories back, he and Preston set out to discover what had really happened at Montauk. Accounts vary, but over time, Preston and Duncan both had seemingly recovered most, if not all, of their repressed memories of what had happened at Montauk, along with others involved, like Al Bielek. According to them,
people think these things are so far-fetched, dog. And it's not. There's movie after movie after movie about things like this. And the one constant entity that's there, military. Ain't that crazy?
the base was used for, among other things, mind
Feds, CIA,
control and remote viewing, or the ability to see what someone is doing or thinking using nothing but your mind from a distance, time travel and time tunnels, or opening a literal tunnel in space-time and being able to view whatever is on the other side. Like in a modern video game like BioShock Infinite, they were also allegedly able to time warp or bend space-time to allow for parallel versions of a person to exist on the same timeline. With that revelation, Nichols was able to explain how he could seemingly be working at one job at BJM while simultaneously working at Montauk. Lastly, Duncan was said to be able to conjure objects from the ether of creation itself using nothing but his mind. He could literally think of something while in a deep state and bring it to life. But how the heck were they able to do all of this? According to Nichols, they had constructed something called the Montauk chair, which was a device that a subject sat in while in an altered state that amplified their psychic abilities to almost superhuman levels, sometimes at the cost of the user's sanity. The alternate timeline version of Nichols was present for many of these experiments, which often used kidnapped children as test subjects for these truly harsh and brutal sessions, where they were being used to develop some sort of psychic soldier program. According to Nichols, however, on August 12, 1983, he and a few colleagues, including that timeline's Al Bielek and a small group of scientists assigned to work on the project with him, had had enough and came up with a plan to put an end to all these experiments, which, left unchecked, could destroy reality itself if they were to go out of control. Between the Philadelphia experiment, the kidnappings, the chair, the psychic warfare program, it was time to put an end to this evil once and for all. As Duncan opened a time portal while in a psychic state, Al Bielek and Duncan Cameron from 1943 were seen from the other side. But the researchers were careful to keep the current timeline versions of the brothers from seeing the past versions of themselves, or risk creating a time paradox. Nichols seized this opportunity of distraction to whisper something to the 1983 version of Duncan, a prompt of, "The time is now," to activate him while he was in the chair. And in his deep trance-like state, a horrible creature was summoned from deep in Duncan's subconscious mind. It began ripping through the base, destroying anything in its path. The scientists and soldiers desperately tried to cut the power and stop this monster from killing everyone on the base. And the only way to do so was to shut down all of the equipment amplifying Duncan's thoughts. It wasn't until Nichols cut his way through the conduits and cabinets to the transmitter of the chair, and the alternate timeline versions of Bielek and Cameron.
Y'all see the spiritual factor in this, right? This isn't just three-dimensional. This is we talking about spirituality being mixed in at the same time.
Destroyed the equipment on the Eldridge, back in the past, as they were all in sync, that the monster faded away into the nothingness from which it had emerged, back into the ether of Duncan's mind. The two events, linked by the brothers on two different timelines, had finally been stopped, and the loop was closed forever. The military abruptly halted the project after the events of August 83. The test subjects were brainwashed. Special operations teams made sure the site was scrubbed and everything of importance was removed. The lower levels of the facility were filled in with concrete. Staff were reassigned, and everything, as it so often is when a covert op is involved, was covered up. This is only the tip of the iceberg with this story, but for more on Montauk, I'll have to talk about that another time. You can clearly see where the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things, got some inspiration from this case for the show. Montauk, New York sounds an awful lot like Hawkins, Indiana. A quaint small town on the outside, but sinister forces lurk on the inside, operating from the shadows. Monsters from beyond our plane of existence cross over from one reality into our own to cause chaos and carnage. Warping and parallel reality travel become possible thanks to technology we can't truly control or understand. The Hawkins Lab is run by officials who reportedly work for the U.S. Department of Energy in Stranger Things. In Montauk, the very real Brookhaven National Lab was allegedly behind it all. Rogue scientists, masquerading as officials of the U.S. Department of Energy, operating with little to no oversight, conducting psychic experiments, sounds an awful lot like Eleven's backstory, with Duncan perhaps being the inspiration for her character. The setup of scientists working to create child psychic warriors in a small town is almost identical, as a matter of fact, with some liberties thrown in for Hollywood flair. It's a great tale, whether it be fact or fiction. And in the world of science, it's only a very small step to either side to make it one way versus another. One decade's science fiction becomes the next decade's science fact. I like to think, though, that if it is indeed fact, we at least get a happy ending for the Cameron brothers. After all this, and I haven't even covered half of it, Ed, or as he's known now, Al Bielek, and Duncan were free. After surviving everything, heck, even being reincarnated.
We're not. Yo, we have gifts. There's gifts given to humans by the Almighty Creator. Some people, this person is just special. This is what Stranger Things is based off of. Montauk. That's it. Well, what Reaper is talking about is the altered consciousness, the upside down. Excuse me. But yo, I'll leave y'all with a good vid. This is the prequel to another video where I'd link. I'll link people that I believe, that I think are in the program, that are specifically placed in things just like in the end game. Exactly. And that's the thing about it too. Remember when the government said, we're going to release the truth about UFOs? And everybody was like, UFO, shmufo. Right? UAP, whatever the new names they came up for, right? Nobody was jacking that shit. Why? Because we were so desensitized to it for so many years. We became so desensitized to it that when it showed up, we're like, Yeah, bro. We ain't even worried about, bro. Okay, cool. They exit. Got it. There was no more hype to it. The allure of it was gone. This is just a prequel video, right? I'll do the people I see the characteristical traits and how people are placed in front of us and placed on TV and placed on social media and placed in movies and Hollywood and radio. And even now in this world right here, right? We looked at Kai Cenat the other night over there when I was over there by Red. And that don't even look like the same person. Right? So it's not that these people are crazy talented, right? It's just that these people are just picked and chose, programmed to run certain routes. You smell me? And they tell it to you. So when these things actually do start to happen, when these things actually do occur, we're desensitized to it. We don't have that, oh shit, what? We don't have that. What did he say? It's gone. It's gone. The allure is gone from it because we desensitized. Just like Kathy was saying, we become desensitized as a people to things that we're supposed to be extremely sensitive towards because we're inundated on a daily basis, right? Go back and watch that movie. Me and Magneto was just talking about this the other day. They Know. Is it They Know or They Walk? I think it's They Know. And that's the whole objective. Desensitize them so when the truth actually comes out, there is no natural response to it, right? You don't have the conscious, true response that it should be given. You smell me? Up another dead friend and training. Sometime this place when that hour and a half with like 10 minutes in the train engine. Yep. And there's something, I think there's something else with that Philadelphia experiment that made a move also. I know people were fused. Allegedly, people got fused to the ship itself, like fused into the ship. Like they couldn't move. Like they were just, you feel me, finna go see their maker or whatever. But I believe they jumped distance, not necessarily time, but I think the time would be distance too at the same time. Right? Because you'd be in a different place in a certain amount of, say it would be time and distance jumping, right? It's pretty much as time travel. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not that type of nerd, right? I'm more of a comic book type of nerd. I'm not more of those. Nah, not that type of nerd. Different type of nerd. Shout out to the nerd gang. And for the closeout vid of tonight, but stand by because I'm dropping that video soon. That part 2 to this. That we call part 2, but y'all will know. It might have a similar title, but I'll name it part 2. No more shock from it. Exactly, bro. Exactly. And the laugh. I wanna, when I do these serious subjects, I wanna leave y'all with a laugh. I wanna leave y'all with a smile, at least, right? At the end of the video. So I'll do my outro and then I'll play the video, right? Boom, draw. Yo, he and I, him, Slim Trim, and I'm built to win. It's a pleasure today to be your host for this smooth hour that we talked about some things that we know, but we don't know. We know, but we don't know. We don't know, but we do know, right? Those projects that all of a sudden just don't exist anymore, and it's just woo-woo, and all these people are crazy. But I'm telling you right now, dog, like the homie said, you ain't crazy. You heard? Take care of yourself, so you take the people that surround you, love yourself, so you love the people that surround you. If you haven't hit the like button yet, on the way out, while we're rolling out, hit them buttons, put this thing where it needs to be. That's what I told her. You hear me? Put this thing where the thing needs to be. What's wrong with you? And boom. Closing out. Y'all know it's a love thing. See y'all soon, G. On the way out, we watching the video, we laughing and we chilling. Y'all know I see y'all soon, bro. I love it from here to there. Have no fear. Everything in here is clean and it's fair.
She's mad.
Oh, really? She's gone. You can come over now? Who's texting?
Nobody. I'm not texting anybody. Nobody's coming over right now. Nobody's coming over.
No, I have nowhere to go.
No, you can go to Target. Just go to Target. Nobody's coming over.
I don't need...
It's a joke.
Ryan, who sent me the text message?
It's a joke.
Tell me now or I'm gonna bash your nuts in.
Crazy. Why'd you park my car like that?
Who comes to the house, Al?
Nobody.
No, you just text somebody and told them to come to the house,
Who
right?
talking? Ain't nobody coming to the
Who's
house.
coming to the house?
Nobody.
It's all right. It's all right. Whoever it
Jay-
is, told her to pull up.
Jay-
I want her to come to my house, Kyle.
Oh shit.
Who's in there, asshole? Who is in there?
What's coming over, Anthony?
What?
Who'd you text, huh? Who you trying to text? You accidentally text me, pendejo. Who you texting?
Nobody.
Who's coming over, huh? Have her come over. Have her come over. You accidentally texted me, oh, my wife is leaving?
Are you stupid?
What?
Are you stupid?
What?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. You want to tell me something?
I don't want
You
to.
want to tell me something?
Hey, what are you doing here?
What do you mean, what am I doing here?
You left to go out.
Yeah, and I just had a message. Hey, you, she just left. Come over.
Autocorrect. Baby.
Why would you do that to me?
Pop, listen.
Oh, hell no.
Babe, hold on, babe. Babe, I was just joking. Hold on. Whoa, what are you doing with those?
I told you I was going to get cut off.
No, babe, please. Babe.
What? Bro, no one's here. I didn't mean to send that. Bro, I didn't mean to send that, Aaliyah.
Yeah, you didn't. Who's coming over? They're going to meet me at the door right
No.
here. You have to go right here.
Oh, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody. It was a joke. It was a joke, bro.
Right here and wait for that bitch. Funny.
I'm taking a nap.
Taking a nap, nothing.
I was taking. You literally see me sleeping right here, bro. Bro, what are you doing? All right, wait. Dang.
What is it?
Was it you just texted me?
I didn't text you.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.